Derek Brandale giving me tips on how to open up a show now.
That should have been on air. It's Willie Day.
As I said, Derek Brandale, our tech expert, calling it Willie Day. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Jen Rolnick, also on board for the next 2 hours. Yes, it is. It's the real Kipper and Bourne show. And let's make it officially the Willie Nylander edition of our show. As it's been noted, Willie Nylander signs a long-term deal extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs. 8 years, $92 million contract. Full, no movement, front-loaded. Willie Nylander is a very rich man today.
Yeah, okay. So max years, about max of the high-end scale dollars that we thought it would get to. Max coverage, trade protection, max front-loading, max.
It's
the maximum.
Maximum contract.
Maximum Willie.
Yeah.
We were able to kind of get ahead of this last week on our show, last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well done, fellas.
Yeah.
It was good. Listen, I mean, it's always nice to be a little bit ahead of the curve on a few things. That was a nice moment for our show, no question about that. At the time, did you feel like it was a split feeling amongst Leaf Nation that this is a good thing? When we first said that this was going to be a max deal north of 11, we had suggested 11.25. It moves up another $250,000. Was that a difference for you guys that could sway your feeling, or it is what it is? We'll start with you, JB.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit it does sway my feeling, but I think what's going to be unsatisfying for people as we talk through this and the different angles of it, for coming from me anyway, is that this can be two things where I think it is, the contract is not going to be debilitating for the Leafs. And in fact, I think probably fair market for value for a guy. I think it's okay. But on the other hand, I think what's going to be frustrating is just that you saw guys like Tkachuk sign for less money. You see Aho sign for less money. There's this belief that you could have got it cheaper. He didn't save them any money. So there's the frustration of like, you were hoping it was going to be cheaper. At the same time, I don't think it's that terrible. So, I am, unfortunately, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's okay. Wish it was better for the Leafs. Over to you, Sammy.
Yeah.
He just signs a deal and you start with
Sticker shock. Sticker shock here, boys.
Yeah.
Sticker shock.
Come on.
It is. What can I say? I think
Sticker shock.
Yes.
He just told you it's a fair deal. He's
here's what I keep coming back to, and I've been thinking about this way too much over the past 2 days. It's a fair contract for the human being that William Nylander is right now on the ice. They paid him at his absolute apex. Could not have been. He could not.
To the day, maybe his peak value ever.
Be playing any better than he has to this point of the 2023-2024 season. This is his best he's ever looked. And I acknowledge that last year was a big step for him as well, too. So I'm not going to take that away from him. This contract, this better be him now. Because if it goes down a level after this or next season when he starts actually making the money, I'm telling you the way this is going to go amongst Leafs Nation. And it's already not very well received.
Wasn't that the delay all about the Leafs, to your point, saying this better be the real Willie now? And wasn't that
how we got to January?
Why it went from a summer negotiation to a January 8th official announcement is because they've got to see what they think is a long stretch of what the real Willie should be.
Well, I see your point, and I think that's what happened this summer when it was like, okay, he could sign the deal, and the Leafs are going, okay, he just scored 40, almost 90 points. He was good in the playoffs. This is the peak of his value. Let's make him do it for another half season before we give him the money. And eventually, it just went up from there. I think that's your point, right, Kip? That they gave him time, and this was it. But you can't negate the fact that he's been below a point per game player his whole career up to now. it's pretty uncommon, I think, for a guy at 26 to just become one for the next 10 years or whatever. So
just note, at 5:30 Eastern, we will welcome in Willie Nylander.
Yeah,
the Leafs will make
talk
him
to the man.
available, so we'll ask him a ton of questions as well. Not sure how many answers we're going to get.
What's your number one thing you want to ask him?
Tell us about Sugo. What's your favorite thing on the menu with that hat you wear all the time?
Yeah, he likes it.
He does.
He likes it.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyper?
I don't know. Where do you get your undershirts? I mean, can my arms look as good
Can
as
I
yours
have
if I
$20
get the
might
right?
be my follow-up.
If
Can
I get
have
the
a
right
20?
undershirt. Elliotte Friedman as well on the top of the hour. So we got a jam-packed show. So many ways that we can get into this deal for Willie Nylander. Just in terms of now what I think the Leafs were able to do that they were not able to do with Matthews or Marner is get the max term allowed. And is that not seen as a win in itself? Because you had talked about this many times on our show, Sammy.
Yeah.
What's wrong with an 8-year deal? Why is everybody signing 4 or 5 or 6? Like, why doesn't anybody want to make a huge commitment? If we really think about Austin Matthews for the next 4 years at 13.6, isn't 11.5 for 8 a good signing?
So you
Hold on now. Matthews is 13.25.
13.25.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gathering the feeling that you think this is good, that you like it.
I'm not saying.
I'm just picking up what you're throwing down here.
I at least had no choice.
That's
And
for sure.
Well,
if I was Brad Treliving, if I was Brendan Shanahan, I would have done the same thing.
So
That's
Okay.
that's where I'm coming from.
any analysis of this deal, to steal the phrase of a friend of mine, that doesn't start with what would he have got as a UFA is probably not very useful. So let's start there.
Okay. Just note too, just to follow up on
Yep.
you. He's only eligible to sign for 7 years if it's not a sign and trade.
Right.
And for him to be equivalent to this deal today would have been $13 million. Do
Right.
you think he could have got $13 million on the
No,
open market?
But also, Kip, that is assuming he doesn't play that 8th season with the team. He could re-sign, let's say it's for $4 million at the end of his career, whatever. He's probably going to get some dollar amount in that year. It's an option for them anyway if they want him. So to me, it's 12/7. Someone would have given him 12/7 because the cost of no asset for what Willie Nylander is, that's probably what he could get on the open market. So from there, the Leafs say, we can give you, other teams could have, front loaded the salary. Other teams could have, helped him out in a variety of ways. But the Leafs can say, we'll give you the extra year and you're already here. You're comfortable in Toronto and we'll give you the extra year. Let's walk it back to $500,000. That's kind of how you get to 11.5. I wish that had been worth more for the Leafs, the ability to do the extra year and that you're already in Toronto and you want to be here. And I also think that there's value in giving more back to the team in the terms of public perception. So
That hasn't been the case, right?
Now,
to me, this is the most he could have got, and he just took
Yes.
it all.
Like the Leafs really got nothing back in any of this.
what part of that's a question I'm going to ask you guys.
Yeah.
What part of this negotiation? This wasn't a negotiation.
No.
It was a concession.
It was a concession.
You got to the
Exactly.
point where they
Correct.
said, okay, fine, we'll give you what you're asking for.
Yeah. So there's not like one part of this
Yeah.
deal that's like, oh wow, at least the Leafs got a break there. And
8 years of full no move.
can I just clarify something? I'm really happy that William Nylander's here for 8 years.
Yeah. That's important you're noting that. I agree.
Because I've really enjoyed watching him play, particularly over the last 2 years, where I haven't been as frustrated with him, and he's really taken a step. And
I'm thrilled.
There you go. I want this to be through that sort of lens. But yet, at the same time, we talked about this a little bit on Leafs Talk on Saturday. It's like, these guys all rave about how much they love being here. And it's like, this is all I care about is being a Leaf. And it's like, well, then, could you take $500K less per year for 8 years? Or could you give one concession in? They love it. It's like the cake and eat it. They get the cake and eat it too at all times. It just drives me a little bit crazy from that perspective. I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
I'm not leaving.
And so to follow up on that, I think the way he skates and his size and strength,
Yeah.
and the way he shoots it, that's going to hold up. He's going to
That's
score
gonna age.
goals for years and
Yes.
years here in Toronto. So I don't hate the contract. That's why I say I think he's probably worth 11.5, but I don't think they got any sort of savings.
It seems more and more agents today do focus on percentage of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
And Willie will take 13.1 off the Leaf cap, which Marner, I think, was just a hair above it at 13.2. And I think Austin's in that ballpark,
At
too.
the time of signing? Is that
Yes,
what you mean?
at the time of signing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Marner's 13.3. So it's like very similar to that.
Yeah.
So I think Pasternak was at 13.4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
Panarin was 14.
could ask for 13.5, 13.6.
Those numbers are from
that
Corrado.
could have gotten him close to $12 million a year.
Well, that's maybe where they started.
Maybe at 13.1, that's decent concession.
Well, yeah, maybe. The best thing I think that the Leafs have going for it, is that the salary cap is supposed to go up 5% this year and 5% the year after. And I know there's people that the thing I've hated seeing the very most is, it worked out great for the Leafs last time they banked on the cap going up. And it's like, well, you should bank on it going up, and you're not going to plan for world pandemic, level stuff. So assuming there's no world pandemic here,
okay.
you would like the odds of it going up, and Willie's salary could in short time, end up looking like, okay, if Tavares is making $4 million 2 years from now, and so the group of those four guys is then making, 38 or 37 million, while the cap is up another $10 million, it suddenly starts to look okay. So some of this sounds like justification, but he is a good player. It is going to look better in time. But yeah, coming out of the gates, it just doesn't feel like a massive win. It feels like he's staying, and that's good.
Yeah, and next year is just they have a good team this year, and a team with some aspirations, and a team that I think has a little bit of jam to it or whatever. But I hate to look by this season, but next season's just a
Tough
disaster.
Real tough.
You can't even begin to go there, Sammy, on next year. And of course, this will play his 11.5 AAV kicks in next year. What does that mean for other players now to fill out the roster? And there's going to be juggling, no doubt about it. But where is the juggling begin in your mind? And can it even, without knowing how the end of the season looks?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That to me is all of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And this will get to eventually that conversation of Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Marner is eligible to sign the contract.
Love this contract.
He's eligible.
That's the floor.
He's eligible to sign July 1st, no different than Willie was this past July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of conversation does that start? And where is the vibe between Mitch Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, and the Leafs? Did they get knocked out of the first round?
Yeah.
Did they get past the second round?
Was Mitch a contributor?
Is there a conference final involved? Did they get to think about the narrative of that negotiation on two sides, an early exit or a deep run.
Yeah.
It's a completely different conversation.
And then you're going to have a better understanding of whether or not Mitch is truly licking his chops on this deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can assure you that an early exit by the Toronto Maple Leafs this spring will not lead to Mitch licking his chops talking to the Leafs July 1st.
No, but it might lead to Mitch licking his chops with whoever he's traded to, and, getting re-signed there.
But now we're having a different conversation, right?
Yeah.
Now we're having where do the Leafs go from here?
Yeah.
And listen, you trade Mitch, that's essentially waving the white flag and blowing this thing up. Okay? It is.
Yeah.
It could.
I suppose how that looks
not
in return,
necessarily
right?
blowing it up to let's start from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
but now you are seriously into a plan B.
Yeah.
It's a different looking thing.
It's a different beast.
Yeah. Yeah, you're constructing a different team, and I think there's a lot of people who would make the case they think it should be different. But the one thing with this is, it's not that easy to just trade a guy like him or a guy like Willie, who was going to be owed a lot of money, and they're some of the elite players in the league. I think they considered, I shouldn't say I think, the Leafs considered and called around on what Willie's value was out there. They couldn't get back anything close to commensurate value. And people out there always say they should just trade him for a D, allocate some of that money to the back end. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
No one's giving you.
And you know what else doesn't necessarily work all the time? Outside of a player's production in the past or his talent level is, are you built for this city?
Mhm.
Can you handle this city? Do you know how many players of great talents have put on the Leaf uniform and then found a way to kind of crumble between the ears?
Are you tough enough to play this game?
That is not Willie.
No.
Willie has proven also that he's very much built for this city, which cannot be said for any superstar in the league. Some are more comfortable with less attention, less pressure. This guy, he can score 6 goals in 6 games. He can go 0 for 6, and you really can't tell the difference.
No, you're right.
That's not a bad thing in this town.
Not a bad thing in this town. And I do think that, he has, the fans have earned the right, because Willie didn't take some massive discount or whatever, that when it doesn't go well, to be on him a little bit, and it won't faze him, and he'll just continue to be Willie.
If there's one thing Willie's probably used to, is Leaf fans being on him.
Yeah. They've been trading him forever.
There's a certain sect of Leafs Nation that, to the west and east of here, that don't necessarily love William Nylander.
Today is a massive loss for some people.
I was going to say today is a kind of a ending point of a tentpole conversation for Leafs Nation.
He has
forever.
a no move for 8 years. Everyone's been trading Willie since the day he got here.
Like, as soon as the playoffs ended, it was like, well, it's time to start talking about the offseason. Where's Willie going? Like, it was a very popular conversation.
Yeah, he's going wherever he wants to go.
Yeah.
Which is right here.
I'll tell you another thing.
Not leaving.
Past the $92 million and the 8 years, what I think doesn't get played up enough is what you just mentioned. A complete no move.
Yeah.
Like, that is huge for players.
That is large.
And people wanted to always compare Willie to Pasternak. Pasternak got 11.25. Willie was able to jump that by a $250,000.
It's just crazy.
But I'll tell you, go look at the finer print on Pasternak's contract. No move for just 4 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's some.
And then it gets into a very tradable contract.
Yeah, it's like an 8 team, and then it's a 10 team, and it gets more tradable as it goes on. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And that, to me, is a huge differential.
Yeah.
Massive. When you talk about
you worry about the end years, and you can't do anything about
where the end years are.
Yeah.
And,
No, it's not. And you know what else kind of catches me in here, Kip? Sorry, finish your thought.
Yeah, and my thought is that, just like Willie, I would have said, not a chance you're jamming the Pasternak clauses in on my deal.
Yeah.
Because I watched you give Matthews a complete no move. I watched you give Tavares a complete no move. I watched Mitch Marner get a complete no trade move.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're jamming something else down my throat? Not a chance.
Yeah.
I deserve what they deserve. And the Leafs said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Watching him shoot at the net. Yeah, you're right. You know what else I think is kind of interesting about the contract, and I haven't heard this mentioned anywhere, is Willie's base salary versus signing bonus is the most lopsided in 26-27 and the year after, which is when the CBA expires.
Complete lockout strike proof.
Exactly.
This contract.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So he's covered himself for lockouts.
Yes.
He's covered himself for trades.
Yeah.
He's covered himself in every conceivable way here.
Covered himself in money.
Yeah.
Now,
He's just Huel on the stack in Breaking Bad.
just to kind of follow up a little bit, this no move. It's not the be all end all. Of course, you have the player have final say, but if clubs want to get players out with a complete no move, they can still do it. But it's gonna get a little greasy.
Well,
and
Not John Tavares, though. You wouldn't do that to your captain. Would you?
Listen, if
But maybe.
if
Yeah.
again, it doesn't go as well as everybody would have liked to have seen this spring,
Yeah.
it's an option to ask John to waive his no move as early as this summer if you don't feel like you want to trade Mitch Marner right away.
So, yeah, like if Tavares scores
maybe.
round-winning overtime goals, it's different than if he goes, 0 goals, 3 assists, and then losing 6 games or something in
Losing
the first
5,
round.
losing 5 to the Panthers in the first
Yeah.
round. Yeah.
Panthers, by the way,
Yeah.
won 7 in a row. They're looking good.
Not the ideal.
Should we hear from
Oh yeah, we have clips.
some of the
Yeah.
Toronto Maplers involved?
Yeah.
Sammy,
Well, we
you-
have William Nylander
Okay.
coming on, so we don't need to hear
And,
talk
and
about it.
hold on, before we go to the clips, just one more thought.
Yeah.
And okay, Nylander is going to be 35 when this thing is done,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
mid-30s.
Yep.
If in fact you wanted to trade him after year 5, again, if he didn't have a complete no move, a very easy contract, movable contract, based on the fact that
No money's
how
owing.
many teams in 5 years will be max teams? So you'll gladly take a Nylander,
Yeah.
right, with an 11.5 AAV if you're nowhere near the max cap by then. And now that's not the case in the NHL because the Leafs cannot hold anything back and everybody's up against it. But 5 years from now, they won't care how high the AAV is for some teams because all they'll care is it's real cash, which probably would be a base salary of what, $2-3 million?
Base salary the last 2 years are $1 million salaries.
That's all that will matter to teams. If
When the cap's gone up $6 million in 2032, it'll be great.
Yeah, that could be trouble. But
right. Anyways, okay. let's get-
2032, by the way, that's the future. That doesn't even exist.
2032
We'll never be
is
there,
when his
so.
contract expires.
Yeah.
Where do you
We're
want to
still doing our
start?
show then. We've really done well.
We want to start with General Manager Brad Treliving on signing Willie. Let's
we'll
start
go
there. Clip one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important. Listen, I said it when I first got here. There's some really good players. They're hard to get. They're hard to keep, and when you got them, you try to keep on to them or hold on to them. So I think it's a good day for us, a real good day for us to get him signed. We're excited to get him signed. Top player in what I believe just entering the prime of his career. So we're excited, but it's a good day for us.
So number 2, you want to hear that?
Well, I don't know if anything turned it, Chris. It's a process to go through. I think when you have the starting point of a player that wants to be here and a team that wants to keep them, usually you can get it done. Listen, it's a big contract. It's a lot of money, and so you go through that process. But I don't know if there was ever an aha moment. We were. You arm wrestle, you go through it, but I don't think there was ever a time where we felt we weren't going to get to the finish line. Because of what I said, the player ultimately wanted to be here. We wanted the player, so we find a way.
Yeah.
I mean, what was he going to do?
There was an aha moment when they said, "Okay, we got to get this done,"
Yeah,
That's
when
the
we will
aha
pay
moment.
the money you want to pay or
Yeah.
you want to get paid.
and that was just prior to the Christmas break.
Yeah. Was that right? Yeah. I just,
It wasn't on Saturday night when he almost split the puck in two when he went hit it up the bar so hard.
God,
in San
that
Jose.
thing rattled off the post
Oh
and
my
in.
God, yeah.
And also, that's kind of his spot. Like,
Yeah.
you know where he's shooting from that
Right
spot.
hand low blocker from
Yeah.
that position. It's like
Ting.
that's going in.
But yeah, like I just sit here and you look at the player he is and has been for them, and you look at what happened with Johnny Gaudreau in Calgary and Tree Living and him saying, we can't have that happen again, and you can't recoup trade value for Willie, and you can't just let him walk, and he's scoring a 115-point pace. Eventually, you hit a point where you got to go, yeah, okay, you win.
We can't replace him.
We can't replace him. We can't just let him leave, and we can't replace him. So, like they had him, Willie's camp had him over a barrel, and they
Yeah, you got to
finished the job.
You got to give the old William Camp a ton of credit here.
Yeah.
Because I guess you guys want to play the cheaper in the summer clip because I think
Yeah.
it's a good conversation.
All right,
to kind
let's
of
do
jump
that.
in.
Cheaper in the summer.
Number 3, yeah.
I wouldn't say the price was any cheaper in the summer. So this idea that all of a sudden the price, we got to a point where everybody felt to get a deal done. And I think it's like any deal. You're probably always a little, we always want a little less. The player always wants a little more. We find a way to get a deal done. And like I said, I at the end of the day, we got a really good player here that's going to be here for 8 more years. So we're happy about it.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it wasn't cheaper in the summer?
I do believe that they asked for the same amount. I don't think it was cheaper in the summer.
No, there was no negotiation. Zero.
They
Throughout
didn't
the whole
discuss.
thing.
No?
No.
The Leafs were saying, show me. Do it again.
Yeah, no, well, they're saying we want it 11.5 times 8. And the Leafs balked. And they threw out 8s and 9s and 10s.
Oh, how I like living in that world.
We'll give you the
Let's leave it
Kachuk
that way.
contract. What do you think?
No.
Yeah. No?
Just
They said no.
let us know when you're ready for 11.5 times 8.
So that's what this is. So they offered them that. That contract has been sitting there for however many months. They were sitting there being like watching him shoot it off the bar and in every night.
Yes.
Be one of the best players in the league. And they're like, finally, we're just like, okay, here we are. That's how this happened.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
You ain't first, you're last.
the stats right now are pretty out of this world. He is still top 5, tied with Connor McDavid, in points right now.
Yeah.
He's got points in more games this season than any player in the league. He's going to score over 40 goals for consecutive years. He's strong. He's a great hockey player.
He is a great hockey player. Yeah, there's no
When
question
he's going,
about
he's
that.
going, right?
And he's been going.
A lot.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you this, because I get the feeling that you've totally been swayed here in terms of
Swayed where?
With Willie. Like you're not balking
Oh,
at this
he's
at
a
all.
much better player. He's proven it over. Yeah, he's won me over for a contract of this magnitude.
Okay, so you don't think there's any world where this is like not as good next year?
Oh no, they could still lose in the first round.
No, like going forward, you think there's no chance that his play isn't as
He
good
becomes
and
a
consistent?
70-point player. And
Or you think this is just
hope,
what he is
I
now?
hope not, but it's okay if he goes 2 or 3 games where he completely disappears, because we're not at that point where we'll ever believe that is he a driver, a complete driver of the game?
right now, I think yes.
There's no question with him shrinking the inconsistencies.
Mhm.
I'm with you, but this is really the first time we've seen it in his career.
Yeah, I'd argue
Right?
last season too, but
So if he can maintain that, then the Leafs and the Leaf fans are better for it. But if he disappears for 3 or 4 games, I wouldn't be overly shocked, and I wouldn't necessarily hang it over his head either, because somewhere there's this really talented player that at times can have these lulls.
Yeah.
And I think that will come back into play. You just hope it's not at the same rate that we saw in the first 6 years of his career.
yeah, I'd made some comments about questioning what his motivation might look like on a long-term deal. But the more I've thought about it, that could still be a small element of it, but he just kind of plays the way he plays. He still is this similar guy. I don't think he's going to suddenly become a 70-point guy again. The other thing that I really like for Willie is he plays. He's a reliable, you talk about availability is the best ability. He plays, I think he's played 81, 82, 81, 82.
Nobody gets hurt, but not on this team.
Well, apparently
You know?
not. Why would you do
Not
that?
the big
Why
guys.
would you do that? We
Not
want
the
them
big
to have
guys.
success.
They're not running over, they're not running guys through the boards here.
They're pretty durable, though. Like Austin took a pretty tough rap. Was it on Saturday night or whenever it was that he went into the boards hard? And
Very seldom you see him in that position.
for sure. Very uncommon. But he did. He went down pretty hard, and I was he's all right.
Yeah, that's true though. He does play every game.
Yeah.
And
You can count on him.
Yeah. All right, I'm just a little, I guess I'm just gun shy at the number. I'm happy that he committed to 8 years, but I just do worry about a dip.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm sure your guys' texts and tweet mentions or a lot of people going about Willie.
Which is me. Yeah. I'm the blah guy.
Well,
that's me.
The blah guy is based on the fact that you've had these guys for how many years and never really saw true success or and to this point, up until our last show last week, like, is it the right balance? Yeah. Is it core 4 guys all making now plus $10 million? And we're going to get Brad Treliving to comment on this, and we'll get his comment, and then I want your comment coming out of this on whether or not they're just buying the same losing recipe of all that money up front to forwards and very little on the back end. Let's go to Brad Treliving, clip 5.
Certainly there's always challenges, right, Pierre? And I think all we can do is we could only tackle these things one at a time, right, when they came up. So I got here and Austin was the priority. Austin and Willie were both going into their final years. We're able to get those done, and now you see what's next on the list, right? But you're gonna have a cap that increases, but we're also not blind to the fact that there's other areas of our team as we move forward that you have to improve, and we'll continue to do that. So I don't have any bold statements or proclamations to make today, other than we got a really good player signed. Now we move on to the next.
So I'll say, like, that's the part of the conversation, and I've had these conversations with other people where I've kind of stopped people and gone, that's a different conversation than the Willie contract conversation. Because, is the team construction right is a relevant, important Leafs conversation. But with Willie's contract, you had to get him signed, and we've done this on the show today. You had to get him signed. You didn't have other options. Is it a fair deal? That's a different conversation from the whole picture of it. Now he's signed, and you can go, okay, now what? Now that the deal is signed, now what do we want to be? How do we want to look? Because Willie's going to be here. Willie's going to be a part of it. Is Mitch? Is John? Are you allocating money differently?
Yeah, that's kind of him talking about it. I agree. Him being like, I didn't sign Marner's contract. I signed Matthews' contract, which was my job. I signed Nylander's contract, which was my job, and then we'll take them as they come here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd be interested to see how he looks at it going forward. But
last time Brad had a crack at signing a big contract like this, it didn't turn out so well in Calgary.
No.
I mean,
people are not happy about the Huberdeau deal.
Listen, guys, that's my greatest fear here.
That he turns into Jonathan Huberdeau?
Not that bad, but it's a very similar situation as a guy who's had a good career on the up and up, has a massive
career year.
Yeah.
115
He's on pace
points.
for 115. Where have I heard that number?
There are some
eerily
terrifying parallels here.
Yeah.
There are.
No one will argue that.
You don't think Tree went to sign this contract like this?
He's like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Because I do.
God, there's going to be some guys at the end of their careers that'll be like, Tree, buddy, I'll send you a Christmas card every year.
As the general manager, Brad's in that position to be the face of this signing, but it's really consistent with the last 6 or 7 years, this contract, and that's not on Brad Treliving.
Well, that's what Sam said to me when I got here today. Right? He's like, hey, he said he'd get it done, and he did. And I was like, reminds me of another GM. We've heard
Marner,
that before.
Matthews, even Nylander on his first crack at a second contract, Tavares, we're always having the same conversation. Is it too much? Is it why? Where was the discount? Like, this is no different than that. It's just the same. It's the same pattern. And yeah, maybe Lou's gone, and there's a different general manager now from Dubas, but it's more on. This is the way Brendan Shanahan has put his stamp on all these deals.
Yeah, the two things I'll quibble with there are that the Willie contract ended up looking great, right? Like his last contract ended up looking great. He's making 6.9 this year to score 100 points. So that one ended up looking like a bargain. So it's not all that these contracts have been like they got every cent they could.
But at the time,
sure,
they're consistent with the same narrative. All
But
of them.
The one thing that's not consistent is that Matthews deals have come quickly, without much discussion, and early. If you sign that Matthews contract he signed this next summer, after he scores 70 goals this year, or whatever it's going to be, it's not 13.25. The problem with so many of these deals is how long they waited. They should have signed Mitch earlier. They should have signed Willie earlier. If they were going to keep these guys and it was that important, they should have signed them earlier.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
The early signings have been good.
That's the only thing that's made sense in the last 35 minutes. They just should have done all of this earlier.
Yes. If you're so set on keeping them, then keep them.
Can I say, though, as just a quick aside from all of this, I want to give kudos to Morgan Riley for signing his contract the way he did. Signed it.
Dude, Morgan Riley is like the antithesis to this the core four forwards.
I feel like everyone gets like all these Leafs always take him to the woodshed, and no one ever
Morgan's
mentions
like making 7-5, playing 25 minutes a
I
night.
haven't taken a penalty yet. Like I am the play against every good player. I make $7.5 million for 8 years. I love being a Leaf, and no one ever mentions it. And all we want
So
people to do is take a hometown discount. And he did it, and no one ever gives him
Everyone
credit
yells
for it.
about the core,
Like,
and Morgan's just
yeah.
like, do I exist?
He's
Remember
like-
the All or Nothing series? He
he's
wasn't
potentially-
in any of the episodes?
He's potentially like he is so important to them, and he makes $7.5 million.
Yeah. He's playing 24.5 minutes per game this year.
I wanted to mention that before
Yeah.
we go to break.
Working
Okay,
note.
let's go to break because there's still plenty of
Lots.
meat to chew
Oh,
off
yeah,
the
they just
bone
won
here.
3 in a row in California, and they've looked better than they have all year.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. More Willie Nylander conversation and perhaps maybe a deeper dive in what it might mean to Mitch Marner. Just note at the top of the hour, we'll have Elliotte Friedman jump on board. And then the man of the hour, Willie Nylander, will join us at 5:30 Eastern. This is Real Kyper and Bourne. Don't go away. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. You've been under a rock. Willie Nylander just signed a long-term deal, 8 years, $92 million. You had mentioned Mitch Marner earlier.
We get to do it all over again, guys.
Is this
Hate it. Hate it.
is this signing today moving Willie and Matthews as a 1-2 punch and kind of leaving Marner a little bit on the outside looking in terms of where his long-term future lies?
I personally would. So love and respect for John Tavares. I think he's an awesome player, but you'd sure love to keep the 3 young guys who do get the most points.
That's a hell of an idea by
You know, so yeah, I guess I'm a little hesitant to be like, if you get rid of him, you're kind of every other team in the league who has a couple of good players. Every team in the league has a couple of good players. The Leafs' advantage, they got more than that. So I would like to see them hang on to Mitch Marner if they can. I think it comes down to playoffs, like you said. If they don't succeed, there's going to be a lot of noise to do something different.
It's almost as if you're, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If Mitch has a
Lights it up.
Lights
wins
it
the
up.
Conn Smythe.
okay,
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, who takes that problem.
and
No problem.
In a
baby.
loss, though.
and kiss him goodbye,
He just Jaguars it somehow.
and,
50 points and they lose in
and
7.
kiss him goodbye, and thank him for the amazing playoff run.
Like we did with Kawhi. I think the city'd be happy.
So last week, we had briefly had a discussion on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and where you think that may go in the next 2 years for the Edmonton Oilers. And I told you,
God, Leon loved this contract. Oh,
yeah, Leon.
smokes.
No, there's a lot of guys out there that love Willie's contract today. And one of them is in Pittsburgh with Kyle Dubas and Jake Gensel.
Gensel. Think Sam Reinhart liked it too?
Sam Reinhart liked it. Mikko Rantanen liked it.
Oh, is he up in a couple of years?
Oh, I think it could be earlier than that.
Oh, really?
Take a quick
I
look.
think if you're Rantanen, you have the case to make that you're more valuable, right?
But
He has
It's-
this year and next. At
but he's
9.25.
eligible to sign
yeah.
this year like Mitch Marner.
Yeah, correct.
So Mitch is already at 10.9, essentially $11 million. Like, where is even the wiggle room to go moving forward if he doesn't have a good finish, or the team doesn't have a good finish, or if the team does have a good finish? where could those talks go as early as July 1st?
For me, like Borny said, I'm signing them. I'm keeping them, right? Like I'm going to keep them. Next year is going to be really tough on the books. Like it really is. Like I mentioned it in our first block that it's unavoidable how much of a disaster next year's cap situation is. But at the same time, you're not going to ever get back. Again, another point for me. You're not going to get back what you want from Marner.
No.
You're not going to be like, oh yeah, we've restocked the cupboards and got our number one D man and got like, it's not going to be like that.
No.
So I think I kind of want to keep them all. They're good.
So
like,
I collect all four.
They're good.
If the one thing that we can say that hasn't played well for the Leafs is getting ahead. So here we are today. Let's play general manager for the day.
Okay.
How do we get ahead now on Mitch Marner?
You have to wait till
eligible?
July 1st, right? You can't sign anything till July 1st.
They're talking.
Think now they're talking?
Oh, yeah.
How could you not be? You got to
Come on, guys.
They see each other in those four performances.
There's some nice conversations going on. Am I here to suggest to you that hard numbers have been exchanged or negotiations are going on? No, but there are discussions. Either together or internally on what do we do here moving forward. So if you were JB, Brad Treliving, how do you get ahead of it July 1st for Mitch Marner?
Well, I imagine you start by saying, what is it you're looking for? Where are you? You establish that. And if we know anything from the last negotiations, they're looking for $20 million. But, I presume you just say, where do you think you are in this landscape of wingers? And you start to say, are you looking to be here the length of the term? You say, are you better than Willie Nylander? Let's look at the stats this year. You weren't. Okay, we're going to pay you less than Nylander. And they say, okay, let's look at historically. I'm way better than Willie. And then you end up giving him 12.25 and times 8 and call it a day.
Yeah.
How'd I do?
I have no rebuttal. That sounds exactly like how it's going to go. I'm sure they're good hometown
I consider
boys.
12-2 over 8.
Sure.
He'll give him a hometown discount, Marner.
For sure.
Good hometown boy.
Is 12-2 over 8, Sammy, a discount for you?
No, but I think one thing's very clear here. There's no discounts. There's no giving it back. No. So I think if you can kind of learn to live with that fact, which is a hard one to get over, then I guess you'll be okay. But
you like the juice,
yeah,
huh?
I guess I do. But I don't know.
Where would you tell us how to get it done? You're the one who knows stuff. We don't know stuff.
No. I think. Okay, let's play hindsight here.
Okay.
Season hasn't started.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Willie Nylander. In hindsight, if the Leafs would have tried to get him done for 10-5 times 8 at that time, would you have said the Leafs overpaid or right about right or what? If
that sounds like the window
right?
where we would have said, seems like a bit much, but yeah, it's good. I feel like that's how I would have felt about it.
Or is the new age now to come out with a flat number and just say match it or we walk? Now, that's the other thing that you have to understand is that, there's the agent side, there's a players association side, there's a market that they may think you're in. But where are you emotionally as an individual to have the guts to turn around and say, 80's no good, but I'll take 92.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of guys that'll go,
I'll take
just take the 80.
Yeah, I'll take the 80.
Take the 80.
I'm the 80 guy.
Take the 80,
big
90,
80.
92.
80.
Yeah, big 80 guy.
No difference. No difference.
No. It's a lot of money.
Lot of money.
I'm rich now.
Now.
I don't want to deal with this. I do think, sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead.
With Marner, it would be important to say, we're doing this summer. Because if you say you're not going to sign for whatever we think is fair value for you, we need to know if we have to trade you or not. And we're going to get a lot more value out of you if we can trade a full season of you. So we're going to do this going into the year. And we'll have the playoffs to go off. And we'll say, let's figure it out, or we're going to have to do something different. Because I'm sure the Marner camp will say they're happy to walk. I'm sure.
We're getting a million texts today. People are horned out to text.
People got thoughts.
And it's just like the thing that keeps coming up, you can't win with these guys. And it's like, okay, that's very fair. That's like they haven't won anything. They've won one playoff round. But like if you trade
Couldn't
him,
win with Ovechkin
but
either,
no, but
right?
like I'm asking this, and I don't even know if I believe it. But like, are you better if you trade the good players? Are you more likely to win without the really good players?
This is
I
what
don't
getting
know.
spoiled is.
I don't
where you
know.
just think your players can sleepwalk to 100 points every year.
It's like,
Not that easy.
but they've just, if they had just won 2 rounds during this time or 3 rounds total, like the perception would be so different. It's just, can you win? Can you win? It's always through this lens, which sucks for Leaf fans because these guys are excellent. And I'm part of this.
But
They're excellent players and they're all like really good, but they get painted in the, can you win with them?
they
It's
know
a
that
million.
though.
It's
The
a million
players now
texts.
know that you can be Austin and Mitch, who are on franchise historic paces to be talked about as the greatest Toronto Maple Leafs in any generation. That's how good they are. But they got that Charles Barkley couldn't win. And the older they get, the more it's going to weigh on them.
And so people feel differently about going back to the well with the same guys. I am of the, knowing how I changed as a player as I got older and my mental state changed and whatever. Obviously, I'm not a great example here, but I just know that I got better and I got tougher and I got, whatever. I'd hate to be like, well, they haven't won, so at 27, we're going to trade them all. The odds of you watching them lift the cup for another team at that point are pretty good.
If you were going to do it 2 or 3 years ago,
you were
would have
either
been
going
the
to give
time.
up on these guys or you're going to see it through.
Yeah, because like you said, 27. I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert. Seems like a good time for hockey players.
Bit of
a prime.
you know what I think? It was at the Oklahoma City that had Durant, Westbrook, Harden,
Ibaka,
and they were like, can't win with these guys or whatever. And then
Blew
they
it up.
all went out and lit it up everywhere else. And it's like, what if you just hang on and let these guys see it through?
I'm
Which is
unfortunate.
Brendan Shanahan's theory.
I've gone back and forth so much on the run it back thing.
Yeah.
But like I'm sneaky back.
You're
on
back,
it.
baby.
I'm back a little bit. Yeah, not even because of this year. Like they look exactly the same as every other year. But the more I start to zoom out, it's like, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Worse players? Like grittier players, I guess? Like guys who, a star who fights and hits. It's like, well, who's the guy?
Could get worse.
Almost certainly would.
That's what I mean. So I don't know. I've not like I'm having an epiphany on air here, but it just at some point you say you can't win with these guys.
And that's just it. Even whether you're talking about firing a coach or trading a player, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure it's going to get better?
That's all these goalie conversations we've had for the last month. Is like,
at least we're
go
finding
get
that.
Jake
Jonesy.
Allen. Martin Jones is the
Jonesy.
best. Kills me we haven't really talked currently Socky. We have 90 seconds. I'd just like to say that Martin Jones, I fully believe. I believe in Jones, and they should keep him as a part of their tandem.
Prior to
Already.
I mean that. I'm in.
prior to allowing,
come on.
hold
It's way too early for
Sold on
that.
Martin Jones.
Well, prior to allowing the 3-1 goal against San Jose, Martin Jones had made 99 straight saves at 5-on-5.
This guy, Kip,
If the playoffs were to start tomorrow, you'd be okay with Martin Jones?
as my backup, assuming Joseph Wool's very good. But I don't think Samsonov's going to be better or has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't. Jones,
Apparently
I was
had a
looking
good
at
week.
today, I'm like, okay, he's 6'5", he's the same age as Markstrom, Talbot, Bobrovsky, same. He's not 1,000. He's been in bad places when his numbers have been bad. I don't know.
Samsonov had a good week.
Did he?
Does that even
That's
mean?
what Tree said.
What does
Hopefully-
that mean?
Hopefully he has a good week at Magnitogorsk.
The guys who are trying to shoot the puck at his pads hit his pads.
All right, just like that, our first hour is done, but we still got plenty more coming up next hour. Elliotte Friedman will join us top of the hour, and then the man we've been talking about, Willie Nylander, Toronto Maple Leaf forward, will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Stick around, plenty more on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Don't go away. All right, let's welcome back in, everyone. Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Biggest story of the day nationally, across the board, it has to be Willie Nylander's long-term deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. 8 years, $92 million contract, full no move, expiring in 2032.
Yeah. Also, not a real year. That's too far in the future, and I don't believe it's a year.
Considered the largest contract value in the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs. What that means for others now moving forward. Plenty of guys, including Petey in Vancouver, who might be licking his chops.
Yeah, he's like, however you say thank you in Swedish, that's what he said.
There might be a few guys like that. But, just to recap, JB, your thoughts on the deal, and then we'll ask you, Sammy.
My thoughts on the deal are that the player is worth that value, but that it is frustrating for fans because there's no discount. They gave him every conceivable thing he could have wanted. So I don't think it's a crisis for the Leafs, but I'm not going to sit here and say they won in any conceivable shape or form.
According to Google, thanks in Swedish is tack. Tack. T-A-C-K. Tack.
Okay.
Tack. So he said tack to it. I think if he continues to be what he is right now, this is going to be a fine contract and one we don't talk a whole lot about. If the play dips, not significantly, but if the play dips even a little bit next year, I think the conversations in this market will start. I do. I know the way that people feel about William Nylander, a certain sect of Leafs Nation, not the most fond of him. And as I read through this text line, there's some comments about him. I just really think that he needs to continue playing at this level for people to not be mad about this contract.
When we have now guys in the league
Heck of a level.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Making 10, 15 times more than a guy on the fourth line, isn't that just a given with any team out there now that you perform, we'll leave you alone, you dip, we're going to be all over you like a wet blanket.
Yeah, kind of mirrors society. The top 1 or 2% is going to make a ton of money, and everyone else is just kind of forgotten. But we will still boo the top 1 or 2% when they don't, when they buy Twitter and Twitter stock, for example.
We're going to welcome in Elliotte Friedman in a few moments from Hockey Night in Canada to talk about this deal and what it may mean for others, including Pedersen in Vancouver. Also joining us will be Willie Nylander in about half an hour, and we'll get his thoughts on the deal and how much he may or may not reveal. Won't keep us from asking some questions.
Willie's pretty good at saying nothing, but we'll
Really
talk
good.
to him. We'll get on his level.
I wonder how much plays into the contract, and maybe we'll ask Willie this as well. And I don't know, again, if this gets played up or not, but for these type of guys that the number isn't really the number when it comes to taking home real dollars because of tax implications. And as it was pointed out to me again today, that a guy like Sebastian Aho, who makes 9.5, I believe, or 9.7 on his new deal. And a lot of people wanted to shape that comparison for Willie Nylander, and Willie should be at a 9.5 or 9.7. But when you consider the tax brackets of Ontario, I think it being at 55 and
versus Carolina.
Carolina at 41 or 42. Yeah. Like Sebastian Aho makes more money to take home than Willie's 11.5.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's
so
swing and a half.
Is that?
I mean, that's a competitive advantage.
That is.
It absolutely is.
That is a huge disadvantage to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Now,
and another reason why that number has to come up.
Here in Canada, do you think
Here
it's
in Canada,
a ridiculous suggestion that there should be some sort of prorated salary cap based on tax implications so that some places don't have a competitive advantage?
I think it's a disaster to try to play that game.
Why?
Because
there's pretty hard numbers about taxes, isn't there?
No, they change all the time.
Oh, well, then change the cap all the time.
I just don't know there's any way around it.
Yeah.
And here you have the biggest market in the league, worried about players leaving.
Mm-hmm. You just got to pay them what they're worth, I guess. And that's certainly what happened here.
Maybe that's another reason why they've just come to the conclusion that whether it's Matthews or Marner or Tavares, you want to come here, that's fine. But I'm not I'm not giving up all that tax and the cost of living, and there's all these factors that may be going into their decision.
But you have to factor in the inevitable Osmo sponsorship. I think Smuckers does one. Skip the dishes. We can make you a couple bucks back here in Canada.
You know what? It's nowhere near where people think.
No, I know. It's like
okay,
$40,000. It's like
$40,000. No way.
No, he's listen, on a major corporation. If you're lucky to get 100 or 200 grand, but
really,
it's not U.S. money.
Yes.
Sammy, you're going.
Don't mean
for a guy like
Osmos,
for
chicken on the rocks.
it's real good
for guys like that are lucky enough to be maybe involved in a national campaign. It's only for like 35 million people. The basketball players and the football players are talking to 350 million people in the U.S.
Noel Achari got signed or traded to the Leafs. His nickname's Cookie. Tim Hortons gives him a cookie sponsorship. He's in one commercial, and then he's somewhere else. He couldn't have made.
You mentioned Osmos
cookies.
RJ Barrett, he got traded to the Raptors, who are absolutely back, by the way. He got traded to the Raptors, and he was doing like his open gym thing, and he was talking about how he was like on the way to an Osmo sponsorship. He got here, yes. He got here the other day.
There's also
grandfather did.
There's also
Booster
the
juice?
impression that this is free money for these guys.
Yeah.
It's
Also
not.
taxed.
Also taxed, and also, hey, what are you doing for me here? I want you here, and here, and you got to come and spend 2 days on a commercial shoot, and that's some guys are like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to get 8 weeks off or 6 weeks off in the summer.
Yeah.
I ain't giving 4 days to you in a commercial for 50 grand.
P.S. All the brands we just mentioned we love, and the address is One Mount Pleasant.
You want jam?
Buddy, send me. I got 2 kids. Send me the
enough jam
Smuckers.
here, boys. Speaking of jam, let's welcome in Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada.
There he is.
That was
Oh,
pretty
my
shameless,
God.
Justin. I have to say, that was pretty shameless.
Don't care, bud. Don't care.
Elliotte, no real surprise here. It just kind of picked up right where we left it off, I guess, last week in terms of getting a deal done. Were you surprised at any of the details at all? North of 11 was right where we thought it would be.
No, when you threw it out, Nick, like it was heating up. Like there was no question that you were on the right train, and obviously proven to be correct by what happened today. The only thing I was ever just really wondering about was the exact number. It was such a secret for a little while. I was wondering if there was something we just didn't see out there. The only thing that has kind of surprised me today, I have to say, Nick, is the idea that if they'd done it in the summer, it might have only cost them 9.5. Like, I don't think that was ever the case. I think Nylander and his camp made it very clear that if the Maple Leafs wanted to sign him, whether it was the summer or it was now, it was going to be in this range. And I don't think the idea of signing him for 8.5 or 9.5 was. I mean, maybe the Leafs thought they were going to do that, but I just don't think that was ever on the table from Nylander and his camp.
Fried, did you get the sense that there was any sort of concession from the Nylander camp, or this was an eventual, the Leafs said, okay, we just got to give him what they're asking for? Like, I put my one tweet about this.
I saw your tweet.
I can't imagine a thing that they would have asked for that they didn't get. They seem to have gotten the whole enchilada.
12? I mean, maybe that's the answer.
I guess.
I think this. Like, I honestly, Justin, I spent the last couple of days, just as everybody else was doing, just calling around, trying to figure out where this was going to end up. And, it was funny. I talked to a few teams that have negotiated with Louis Gross in the past, and they said that what he does is, he gets to a number and he justifies it from his point of view, and he doesn't move. He especially when he's got the leverage. Like, sometimes you don't have leverage and you have to take what you get. But this was a case where they had leverage, particularly with the way that Nylander had played this year. So they stuck to their guns. And, I got to tell you, I do not like bringing family into this. I really don't. But this is a unique case. Mm-hmm. And I think, Michael, who played a long time in the National Hockey League and knows exactly how this business works, and he sees what he thinks his son is worth. I think he was pushing the same thing, that this is what we're worth. And if you want to sign Willie Nylander, this is going to be what it's going to be. And, with everything else you mentioned there, the no move clause, the bonuses, look, the Maple Leafs have made it very clear they're a bonus team. They did it with Tavares, they did it with Matthews, they did it with Marner. They certainly weren't going to be able to say, no, not in this case. And the no move clause all the way through, I don't know how much everybody thought about that, but I'm not surprised of any of this. I just think that they drew a line in the sand and said, this is where you're going to end up if you want to keep this player. And ultimately, I think the Maple Leafs just decided we want to keep this player.
We're talking to Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada and 32 Thoughts. Someone mentioned to me last week when I did bring up the contract that they wanted a deal done before the All-Star weekend, and certainly today's plenty of time for that. But, one of my questions back was, well, why wouldn't they just take this right to the very end? Why wouldn't they just take this to June 30th? If they believe that they would eventually give in to this number that's been revealed today at 11.5, why not wait at the last second, just in fact, to maybe just feel like if you could still bring them down a little bit, if the player really wants to be here and doesn't want to move, would it have shown more to wait? Why now?
Why now, I think, Nick, is because I think they're going to look around the deadline. Now they have some certainty about what else they can do. We know the cap next year is going to be around 87. We know what Nylander's number is going to be. So they can do, if they're looking at a defenseman with term, say at the deadline, now they know, or a defenseman they're going to trade for that they can resign, potentially, hint, then now they know what they can do. Honestly, Nick, I think they wanted to know now so that if they are going to do anything at the deadline that's going to affect their roster beyond this season, they know exactly what their numbers are going to be. And I think that played a very big part in this. I think they wanted it over with, and they wanted some certainty in what they could do around them with numbers.
Elliotte, I know you don't like to talk about that family aspect, and I'm sorry to go back to it, but I just asking out of genuine confusion of what is Michael's role as he's an agent, and Louis Gross is the agent. Are they both his agents?
They work together.
What does that mean?
You know what? I haven't checked, Justin, if Nylander is still an agent. I mean, I probably should.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing out how terribly I do my job.
No. It's genuine confusion.
I'm totally kidding. I'm just busting you. I should have checked. To be honest, at one time, Nylander was a registered agent. I don't know if he still is. I have to double check that.
Sam believes he is here to my left.
Okay, so he still. Well, that's the thing.
I do.
And one of the things that happens here, Justin, is I ultimately I think that Louis Gross handles the heavy lifting and prepares the case, but Michael plays a huge role. He says that this is what I think my son is worth. And at the end of the day, look, the one thing I don't like about all this, and actually I had a really interesting call with someone yesterday who said to me that they don't always like the way that William gets portrayed in all of this, that he's just some rube who does whatever his dad tells him to do. And because I think, you know him a little bit, Justin. I think he's got a much stronger personality than that. And it's a very big part of this. I don't think he was afraid to say no until he got what he wanted here too. But what I think is that the agent, he does a lot of the heavy lifting. He does a lot of the negotiations. But Michael plays a very big role in yes or no. And I do believe there were times during this process too that the Maple Leafs spoke with him directly. And just said, hey, where are you in all of this? So they had a really good idea. So I think he's more than a parent. And obviously, I guess, as Sam mentioned, he's still an agent. I didn't check, but I think he plays a huge role in all of this.
Elliotte, now people start going to the next story and the domino effect of this signing and what it means for the Toronto Maple Leafs, perhaps Mitch Marner in the next few years, and then outside of the league. But let's just talk about maybe as early as July 1st when the Leafs are eligible to re-sign Mitch Marner. How does this play into all of that?
Well, I think, Nick, there's actually two big storylines on July 1st, and one is Mitch Marner and the other is John Tavares. Because I do think part of this is, like, if you heard Tavares today, he sounds like a guy to me who wants to finish his career in Toronto, and he's on record as saying that. But what's the number, Nick? Like, it's not going to be 11. So I'm sure at some point the Maple Leafs are going to have a conversation with him about what his next deal is going to look like, and how far down it's going to be, because that's going to be a huge factor in all of this as they plan for the future. I mean, I would defer to you on this one. Nobody in the media knows Marner better than you do. Nobody knows the way he thinks better than you do. I would assume he's going to be looking for a raise. I wonder if they're going to offer him the same deal that they offered Nylander now. I don't know. I haven't asked anybody that. But, I definitely think that's the next big. I think those are the next two big questions. What does Tavares' next deal look like, and what do Marner's next deal look like? Because one's going to be down, and I just assume, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that Marner's going to be looking for a raise.
Yeah, well, just earlier on our conversations, Elliotte, tell me what the playoffs looked like. Tell me how successful they were. Tell me where Mitch Marner was in driving the team. Mm-hmm. So, and Tavares to that point, I look at Tavares and, no question, when you make that move from the island and you turn down going to San Jose, you're coming home to finish it out here. So I think the Leafs would be totally in the driver's seat there. Whatever it is, I'm not suggesting that he's going to take a minimum contract,
right?
But under his career earnings, I don't think $1.5 to $4 million a year would matter any differently to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only thing is, if he's still like a 40-goal guy,
right?
There's not a lot of 40-goal guys that sign for $1.5 million. So, it's two things. It's his willingness to stay, which he clearly wants to do, Nick, but also performance matters. And, also what kind of term are we going to be talking about there? Like, I got to tell you, when this was signed, I was like, okay, we can breathe for a couple of days, not have to worry about any of this. And then I remembered, okay, where am I?
Tell us about Marner.
We're on to the next one. The Marner one, he's a great player. He just is. He's a great, great player. And, one of the things that was a factor here in the Nylander was, he definitely felt that that he was not going to be the only guy taking a haircut. And Marner certainly isn't taking a haircut now, but I'm sure he'll want something commensurate with the guys who are now ahead of him. And we'll just have to see where that number is. But, I think the big thing that they did today, well, there's two. There's number one, they got this done, so it's no longer a story. And now they have some idea of what their cap situation is, and they can target whoever they want to target on the blue line. Because I do think that's something they're going to do as soon as the deadline here.
Friedge, we have you on in our national hour here, so I want to ask you about Elias Pettersson and that contract. Now he had 103 points last year and is well above a point per game this year. I mean, is this kind of the floor for Petey's next deal in Vancouver?
I think so, but the one thing I think that the bigger challenge is for them is, when's he ready to talk? Mm-hmm. To me, people say, well, okay, now Nylander's done. We know what the floor is for Pettersson. I think the bigger question is, when is he going to be ready to say, okay, I'm willing to listen to you? I think Vancouver has indicated that they're ready to talk to him anytime. And everybody there knows that Vancouver is going to throw a ton of money at him when he's ready. To me, it's more about when Pettersson says, all right, I'm ready to go. And don't kid yourself, Justin. Vancouver knows this one is going to cost them, and they're going to go right at it.
Outside of that, Elliotte, you had mentioned Tavares eligible for a contract extension with Marner as early as July 1st. Also in the mix of that is Jake Gensel, another terrific scoring winger for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk about his agent on the weekend, talking about his situation and the sense that he could be in play for trade deadline.
I think it's possible. the one thing I think there is, I think they've talked to him. I think they've tried to sign him, Nick. At this point in time, it hasn't happened. And if you're the Penguins, you're probably sitting there and saying, okay, if it hasn't happened by now, is there any reason it's going to be different? One of the things that I have heard that has started to become a bit of a conversation there is when Kyle Dubas was hired, he was hired to keep going to the playoffs and rebuild the team. Those are two really difficult things to do at the same time. And I think some of the questions there are, what is the future going to be for Pittsburgh? Is there ever a chance they're going to take a step back? And, I think for guys like Gensel, I think they're wondering about that a little bit too.
Last one for me, just while we're talking about scoring wingers, Leon Draisaitl is the other name that fascinates me. What could this end up meaning for Leon Draisaitl? I
think Draisaitl's next deal is going to be a big one. I think the Oilers know it. I believe as long as the Oilers are good, look, the Edmonton made a panic move at the beginning of this year when they made the coaching change. This is the wrong year for them to have a bad year,
right?
Because it's headed into Draisaitl and we're 2 years away from McDavid. So I think that's a big reason in why they made a change. As long as they're good, I think Draisaitl stays. But Justin, I think the Oilers know that this next one is going to be a mega deal. Yeah. And whatever he wants, they're going to have to pay him. Yeah. That's one of the storylines here, Nick. And you played with a lot of guys who made big money. In the past, the star players have always taken a bit less, especially in the cap era.
Sid.
I think those days are over. I think we are seeing now that a lot of the star players are saying, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And some will always be different. There will be other guys who don't do it. But I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of the star players saying, I'm going to take a bigger piece of the pie here.
Elliotte, we've also heard from a lot of agents lately that the focus is on percentage of the cap, less than the actual dollars. One needs to be settled first before you get into dollars. And Willie's deal ended up being 13.1% of the Leafs' salary cap. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Connor McDavid's last deal was over 16% of Edmonton's salary cap. Are they still in a position to take 16 or 17% of the cap? I know 20 is the max, correct?
Yeah, 20 is the max.
Do you see Connor or Leon absorbing that much on their next deal?
I don't know if it'll be. I don't know if we'll get to 20. I don't know, but I think we will see. To me, as far as I'm concerned with McDavid, there's no contract that's unfair for him.
No.
Whatever he wants, you just give it to him without any
Here's your
complaint.
20%, yeah.
Here you go. And to be honest, I heard the last time they negotiated with him, McDavid's people said, we're not going to take 20%. The Oilers were like, thank freaking God, because we would have given it to you.
Yeah, they chopped $1 million off of it, I think, or $750.
Yeah, because McDavid, when it first got out, McDavid didn't like the reaction to it. So, but you know what? I think I don't know if we'll get to 20, Justin, but 16, 17. Someone's going to be the first to go for 20. Yager had 20. Brad Richards briefly had 20. But someone could go 16, 17, 18. Yeah, I think you'll see it.
What do you have as Sportsnet's cap, Elliotte?
I think I've been looking at those Q2 returns. I think I'm negative 1%.
Elliotte hasn't been home in 4 months to earn that cap money.
Fair enough.
That's right. That's right.
Elliotte, great stuff, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Friedge.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Speak to you later.
Appreciate it, man.
Elliotte Friedman, Hockey Night in Canada, 32 Thoughts. So
we got to go.
We got to go to get to Willie.
Are we going to break?
Yeah,
let's hit the break.
All right, let's go to break. Willie Nylander, live and in person, and $92 million richer after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sam McKee. Massive contract by Willie Nylander to stay in Toronto till 2032. Let's welcome him in right now. Happy to be joined by Willie Nylander. Willie, first and foremost, congratulations on the contract. And how important was it for you to get this done well before, say, the All-Star break?
I mean, my thought process was just to keep playing the way I've been playing. I mean, I'm really happy that I was able to get done. I mean, this time so fast compared to last time.
Yeah, fair enough. So how much do you think about the pending deal as it's kind of going on throughout the season, Willie?
I mean, I'm not thinking too much about it. I mean, every once in a while, Lewis would call me and give me an update on what's going on. But I mean, I was just focused on playing hockey, and we'll still be focused on playing hockey.
And Willie, a lot of people, when we first heard that the talks were in the summer, and I'm sure you could have signed a lot earlier for less, but where were you in terms of how far you wanted to push this? Because there's always the risk of a player getting hurt or having an off year. How big of a decision was it for you to push forward and prove that you deserved the money that you are getting now?
Well, I mean, I just sat there in the summer, and I mean, at that point in time, I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to start playing the season, and obviously it would have been nice to go into the season with a deal, but I mean, honestly, I'm not really thinking so much about that. I'm just happy to be in Toronto for 8 more years, and I mean, what I told Brad was, I mean, this is where I want to win, and this is where, I mean, we got to do this. So that's just been my initial thoughts over the entire process.
Willie, it's been a long time since you and I crossed paths when I was with the Marlies there. I can't help but think back to your relationship with Sheldon Keefe as a young player. You've been here a long time, and you've had Sheldon as your coach for most of the time. Curious how your relationship with him has evolved over those years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's pushed me to become the player that I am today, and always been. I mean, from the Marley days up until now, it's been a journey, and we're going to keep going.
Hey, Willie, I know your dad as a teammate in Hartford and a roommate on the road, but I don't know him so much as an agent. But apparently he's pretty good, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a guy that's played quite a lot of years in the NHL, I think he could be a pretty good agent. Obviously, super thankful for what he's done for me in my career, and obviously my mom and my family.
Hey, are you getting a break on the fees? Come on, funny. Dads are supposed to love you without fees.
No, you're supposed to give back. You
want me to call him, straighten them out for you?
More.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you do. That's how it works.
So you got to pay me back for those 18 years when you're living at home.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Good way to funnel it back. I love that. So this year, you guys have been humming along. You're coming off a 3-game win streak here. Shot a couple in the net last game. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on this year's team and how it's different from previous iterations of the Toronto Maple Leafs you've been on.
Yeah, I mean, like every year we have a different team, a different, season going through certain ups and downs. I mean, which happens every year as we're building to become the team that we want to be come April. I think we have a great group of guys, and I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to stay here if I didn't believe in the group and the management and the club.
And the love affair with the city and the commercials. Now you got enough money to maybe charter a whole TTC train by yourself here. But just in terms of the fan base, Willie, and what they've meant to you over the years.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been very special having the support of the fans. I mean, every night playing in front of them and getting to do that for another 8 years is incredibly special. I mean, to do it for such a storied franchise, it couldn't be any better.
Okay, and also, Sugo is here, and I see the hat all the time. Are you an investor? Do they sponsor you, or do you just love the restaurant? What is the relationship with Sugo?
No, I just go there and eat sometimes, and I mean, they just give me a hat sometimes. I mean, I love love that place.
Oh, I got some hats for you too there. Hey, Willie, congratulations, man, on the deal. Every penny earned this season, proving your point that you're one of the top wingers in the game. Good luck the rest of the way, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. Appreciate it.
Willie Nylander.
Thank you.
Now, one of the top paid players in the game.
Yeah, kind of got what we expected.
Yeah, listen, he's, there, as far as getting any type of detail or getting him to open up on, he's in that player mode, right?
Yeah,
Wherever
he's
you
done 300
go,
of
it's
these
just happy it got done and wanted to be here and glad it's over.
Yeah.
I got a couple chuckles out of him.
Well, I think that interview is exactly why he's perfect for Toronto.
Perfect.
Where it's just like, and he could not
Unfazed.
have sounded more annoyed to have to do that.
And we appreciate it every second of it.
He appreciated it. Totally appreciated it.
Absolutely.
And I like that you asked him about Sugo, and I thought it was a pretty good joke about his dad. I know his dad. Like, I thought that was good.
Yeah.
So
Chuck him a couple
I
bucks.
think that's the best we could have done, boys. Best we could have done.
All right, we still have to do two things.
Yeah, we're gonna do game time.
Yes, we do.
What was the other thing?
Just news and notes.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, it's the aforementioned Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must
It's
be 19
game
plus. Whoa, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So I don't know if Kyper likes when I do this, but I'm going off the NHL tonight.
Is it the Ohtani thing again?
No, Tony. Good God.
They signed a couple guys, by the way.
Who?
Not just Ohtani. I just mean everyone. They signed
Oh, yeah, they
everyone.
just signed former JT Oscar Hernandez
Yes.
as well. To a
You know
really
what's
nice.
scary? And we're in like 2024, and people are screaming for $250,000 more
Mhm.
for Willie.
Oh, I know.
From 11
I
to
know.
5 to 5, and yet those guys are signing for like almost $1 billion.
I know.
Ohtani Canadian funds.
I was going to say when Elliotte was like, I think the days of people in the NHL stars taking this like hometown discount is over. To me, it's because they're looking around at the best players in other leagues going, I'm sorry, what does Shohei make?
Yeah, but Shohei does two things at once.
Right.
It's like if
Okay.
Willie was the starting goalie
strike
too.
Shohei from what does LeBron make or what
Yeah, a
is,
lot. A lot.
look
So-
at the best players in other sports and go, why am I playing
Do you,
for
do you remember
250 less?
that joke? I think Jimmy Ralph says when he does his stand up or he hosts. He's like, when he signed his first contract with the Chicago Blackhawks,
Mhm.
and they told him, "Okay, now don't tell anybody what you make."
Right.
And he says, "Okay, I'm just as embarrassed as you are."
Exactly.
That's
And-
classic
and
Ralph.
That's the stars in our league.
That's the stars in our league today.
Yes. Like, I hope Leon and Connor make 18 or whatever in their next deals.
Um,
That's
No,
right.
yeah, but
I want the Oilers to
not
be
to go
good, so
down
maybe
this
not.
whole merry-go-round.
I know
but
we'll get to you, Sam.
That's
it's
fine.
just
It's fine.
it's just horrible that, and I've stated it, like there's a real jealousy issue here inside the dressing rooms, and it's
Who cares?
no. What do you mean?
Well, you're
It
trying to
affects the
win.
product.
Trying to
It
win.
affects the product.
I don't care if my lesser player has so much ego he can't handle that the best player on earth is making 10 times as much as him. I don't care.
Until they don't deliver and they're making 15 times more than you.
Well, then he's worth less than that, and we'll find someone who will deliver.
I'm just telling you,
Jealousy.
it's real
Yeah.
and it's out
Okay.
there.
Okay.
That, the more you take, the less you leave for the rest of us.
I get that.
Anyways,
Oh, hi. Game time.
Game Time. It is the national championship game tonight in college football,
Yes.
which will take 5 hours. So if you're new to college football, strap in because they review every play. This takes a long time. But the glitz and
Is the
glam.
Pop-Tart playing?
I don't know. The glitz and glam around the national championship game, two extremely historic programs in the Washington Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. Washington is a pretty big underdog, but they're a much more electric offense with this quarterback, Michael Penix. That's a really good play. They're a 5-point underdog. But I do like the Michigan Wolverines. I have a lot of good buddies who are diehard Wolverines fans. I also have a good buddy, JD Bunkus, who's a diehard Washington fan. I'm having a tough time leaning either way, but give me the underdog in the Washington Huskies at plus 180. Or if you want to go on the spread, it's minus 105 for plus 05.
Why is this game so late in January now. Wasn't it like a New Year's Day?
Yeah.
No. So because it's the playoff. Because they used to do it where it was just like the game at the end. Like they used to,
this is the okay.
They used to like declare the winner.
Right.
Now they
like,
have a playoff. So the Rose Bowl now was the first one of the playoffs, and the other one goes to, I believe I forget where the other one is, Texas maybe.
Okay.
So it's like, and then they go to Houston to play the final. But tonight it's the Washington Huskies versus Michigan Wolverines, and I'm really excited for the game. I love it.
I always
care.
Well, I mean, growing up in BC, I liked Washington. I liked their colors, pro Husky. So, I mean, I'm leaning that way. I know nothing about it.
This will be this is half the country watching this thing. Will they get 30 million?
This is a massive event.
Yeah.
Like a massive event. And the fact that it's Michigan in it, which is like one of the most storied things in college football, it's a huge, huge matchup tonight.
All right.
So, and then the last thing I had quickly, because you guys were talking about Ohtani for the first 5 minutes, it's the 94 rematch tonight. Kyper's Rangers beat the Canucks.
Yeah, it is. Kirk McLean playing?
Kirk McLean is not in the lineup tonight.
Okay.
Vancouver Canucks are pretty heavy underdogs, plus 125 at Madison Square Garden. You know, I like a dog. Give me the Vancouver Canucks to avenge Kyper's Stanley Cup ring.
It'll all be
Madison
even
Square
after
Garden.
that.
There you go.
Yeah.
No one will forget.
Rangers are struggling a little bit, keeping the
too
puck out.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I'm just going to finish up here.
Yeah,
that was
go.
Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
As good as the Vancouver Canucks are, they're not sitting at the top of the NHL mountain right now. The Winnipeg Jets.
I know.
We still aren't giving them enough love.
I don't know. This has become the Sasha Barkov
is it
thing.
just
Like,
the-
everyone says they're good.
Who, the Jets?
Yes.
Yeah, they're so underrated. They don't get enough credit. They're
Every
the best
week.
team in the league. Is that enough credit? They're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are. They on fire. The biggest thing is they just don't give up goals.
No.
I don't know how many games now they've given up 3 or less goals, but it's got to be in the 20s.
And we made fun of them for that Connor Hellebuck contract, or I did at least.
Why?
Last season.
No, that didn't happen here. Don't put that on us.
Not on our show.
Are you sure?
No, with
That was you and Bunker.
Bunkus.
You
No.
and someone else.
your
It
IQ
wasn't
drops
us.
50 points when you're with
I'm
Bunkus.
pretty sure you guys were surprised. I remember some emotions out of
I may have been skeptical of the
Yes.
Scheifele part of that.
you. Okay, but the Hellebuck thing, it's like, yeah, he's the best goalie in the league, probably, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
If you had one game, you're picking
Let
a
me
goalie.
ask
you're
you
I
probably
something.
actually
picking him.
think I would pick
You know, and I wrote an article for the Toronto Star last week on, kind of like the demise of the goaltending market.
Mhm.
And he went back to Winnipeg after he found out New Jersey wasn't going to be willing to drive the price up.
Oh, you think that was the play? Was
Oh, he
leverage?
had talks
New
with New
Jersey's
Jersey.
just going, what have we done? Why didn't we do it?
So let me ask you something. If he doesn't re-up and he goes to UFA on another Vezina
Mhm.
year, like
Someone offers him 4x4 because the
could you-
goaltending is cruel.
could you have seen someone get to 10
10?
million for
Yes.
him?
For sure. For sure.
But
He's
the
so
problem
good.
with goaltending is term. Because you're going to give him 7 years if he's a UFA, 10 by 7. Although Bob is making a resurgence, or last year he did anyway. But no, I think he would have got 10 million. He's that good. He's special.
Okay, you mentioned Bobrovsky there, and it just popped into my mind. I wanted to talk to you about this. People are already pissed off about how much Leafs we've talked in this show, but too bad.
I mean, they're one of the teams in Canada.
I hate that the Leafs are probably going to play the Panthers.
They are going to play the
Did
Panthers.
you watch any
I did.
Panthers
Actually, no,
Avs
Florida's probably
on
going
the
to catch
weekend?
Boston.
I watched it where they scored early and often.
Barkov was a
Unbelievable.
beast.
We're in the full,
The full visor.
yeah, the fishbowl. Yeah.
I think I read something. Old Ryan Lambert had something. I read a paragraph where Florida's top 5 in basically every statistical category
so good.
outside goals for per 60 or something. But yes, they're good in literally every department. They're physical. They're
2
mean.
lines that are just coming right at you. And Sam Reinhart, who, when I watched him first start his career in Buffalo as a 2nd overall pick.
Yeah. To who?
Yeah, I didn't think he could skate.
Sorry, to Buffalo.
No, but who was it? Went first in that draft? Just thinking to myself. Go ahead, Kip.
I'm like, okay, could have a decent career, but I didn't envision this.
I didn't ask for that. Yeah, he's got 28 goals and 50 points in 39 games. And he's looking at that Nylander contract going with cartoon Awuga eyes.
This is funny. I'm just looking at that draft. The Three of the top 5 picks play for the Florida Panthers. Sam Reinhart, Aaron Ekblad was the first overall pick, and Sam Bennett went 4th.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Who's the other dude in there?
Leon Draisaitl went
yeah,
3rd, and
doing pretty well,
Michael
too.
Dal-Cole to your Islanders at 5. Oopsies. That's Willie Nylander draft.
Wow. He was 8th.
So Reinhardt will benefit, no
Do
question.
you think he's going to get paid like Willie?
I don't think so either.
He's not that.
No,
His career is not.
And he's not
He doesn't skate
he's
like Willie
not
to
a-
keep it up.
dynamic player.
No, I am less confident. This seems more like the massive outlying season for him.
Well, he scored 30 goals back-to-back years.
33-31. He's got 28 right now,
Yeah.
Sam. So 39 games.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is
Let me ask
freakish.
you about. Seems like we're just won't get off the money train.
Yeah,
on
it's a
this
money show.
It's a money show
Yeah,
today.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
So Willie
Bring in Jim
money
Kramer.
show today.
Don't bring in Jim Kramer.
One of the teams that Florida played on the weekend, Colorado, Mikko Rantanen, is also eligible for a contract extension this July. What is he worth for
He's
you?
awesome, too.
Is
And a
he-
Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, and he is a few points behind Willie, and I think statistically throughout his career, a higher points per game guy.
You know who we should ask? Terry Lekkonen's dad. That's who we should ask.
And you know,
Bring him in with subtitles.
it seems like he's been around forever, and he's just 28 years old.
Yeah.
So he can easily lock in for 8 years, and you're not feeling like you're getting cheated.
Also, 50 points in 40 games, had 100. He had 55 goals and 105 points last year. Good Lord, 6'4", 215, 28 years old. Yeah, he's going to make 13.
87 points.
13.
87 points in
Yeah.
70
How is he
playoff games.
not?
I know.
I mean,
I know.
he has a case to say I'm among the handful of best players in hockey.
Someone sent me a note that said you guys didn't talk enough about Connor and Draisaitl's deal, because you brought it up last week.
Yeah.
In Elliotte, we had Elliotte Friedman on the top of the hour here talking about a potential Draisaitl deal. But I still say that this has to be done with both guys. I would never negotiate without. I go a new way with these two guys.
You said something like
wouldn't
you give them a
negotiate-
pile and
I would
say
not
you divide it
negotiate
amongst yourselves.
Individually, I would bring them together and say, boys, we're not leaving the room. You guys love each other, right? Yeah. Okay. We know that. You go to sporting events, you hang out,
But you can't.
you
do that.
fish.
Like, you can't
No,
do
you
your
can.
idea. No,
You
you
can.
can't.
You get them in a room and you say,
Because the number you are giving them
here we
is a
have,
pretty good pile.
I've got $30 million.
I thought you said 32 million.
$32 million. Whatever.
What? Do I hear 33? 33
No,
gonna get 34. Okay.
no. I won't go past 30. I don't even want to go past 30. but
31.
31.
Okay.
Okay. How do you guys
Oilers
want
fan,
to split it up?
16 and a half, 13 and a half. Did my math work there? No, that's 30. Whatever. Give both
16
another half mil then.
and 13 and a half. See, I would
was
go
it 31, 17, and 14. That's the math.
I would go, yeah. I 16, 14. Let's just say it's 30 for a second.
This is
Okay.
awesome radio, guys.
If,
Good
if-
math.
even if you
Listen.
didn't, let's just say
My
30
SAT
for now.
scores in math weren't
Okay.
great.
You can do 16, 14.
Yeah.
But you can't really do 17, 13.
No?
No.
I guess
Not for Draisaitl.
Draisaitl does have a Hart Trophy. You're right. You can't give Draisaitl 13.
Yeah,
In fact, he's worth
great
way
observation.
more than that.
Quickly. Bedard sucks. Hurts.
Yeah, Bedard, broken jaw.
Got rocked.
He got
Okay.
rocked.
And we love him, but what are you going 1,000 miles through the middle of the
Head
ice
straight
to
down.
hit a brick wall with your head down?
Come on. That's
What do you mean, come on?
Well, this is how the guy has scored 1 trillion points and become the top prospect on
Scored
earth.
1 trillion points in junior.
Yeah.
Kipper's
now-
right, though. He never even considered peaking.
Come on.
He just went straight
No.
head down.
You remember who else got smoked as a rookie and had their career or season derailed? Connor McDavid.
Yep.
Connor McDavid got crushed going a little too aggressively into the boards, missed half a
Okay,
season.
lesson learned,
That's what I'm saying.
right?
This
But
is part of the got to do things differently, I
kind of
guess.
goes into a little bit what I told you guys at the beginning of the year. Too much too
Freak
soon.
accident. No, it's not like he's getting crushed like Nick Robertson did
but
last year.
It's
Every other game.
taxing. Playing all these games at this level with the intensity, the bright lights, the media, it can cause you to maybe let your guard down for 5 seconds and maybe do something that you don't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we witnessed.
I would love to see Chicago say, we are not, maybe this is their Celebrini year and they try to have these two guys, but we're not doing this anymore. We are immediately trying to dig out of the ditch. We're going to pay for UFAs. Pettersson, if that's the rumor, sure. What are they giving you? We'll give you more. I would love to see them get serious. I hate watching teams.
Well, it's like the Spurs
for 4 years. Like, is that worth it?
Yeah.
It's like the Spurs with Wembanyama this year. It's like they just have no
5
plan.
wins.
They have no plan. They have this freak of nature on their
Right.
team. They didn't sign any good players. They're just like, yeah, we'll suck again. It's like, how many years are those little bones going to survive?
Right.
It's like, just be good.
Pigeon bones. 7-4.
Yeah. So it just sucks that he's hurt. 'Cause he's not going to be at the All-Star game now, probably, right? Broken jaw.
Have they said how long? 6 weeks?
Wild. They no timeline, but that's a wild broken jaw. That sucks.
Well, he can unlock his sister's doors now,
What do you
right?
mean?
On that commercial.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Right.
got the from a distance.
Yeah.
Kia. I don't know what. I don't remember what brand it was for.
I don't know either.
And Marc-Andre Fleury ties Patrick Waugh, ever heard of him? For
Mhm.
second most wins all time.
Hall of Famer for you guys?
Well, unfortunately, yes.
The guy.
All right, we're running out of things to talk about.
No, that is it's really cool to see someone universally loved have so much success. And I mean,
Did you catch his
Well, but-
Superman
but I have
save
to-
on the weekend?
yeah, he's so entertaining.
Bunkus has been brought up here a lot, but I have to give him credit. I texted him about this. He said, this is another amazing Sidney Crosby stat.
Oh, then he got Fleury. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Marc-Andre Fleury, second all time in wins. What a Crosby
Yeah.
stat.
Good goalie.
Yeah.
No question, but like second all time wins?
That is pretty baffling.
It's
You know what?
crazy to me.
It does speak to love of the game and longevity. This guy loves to be
For sure.
a hockey goalie, which
For sure.
not everyone does, I can assure you. I've practiced with many who don't.
Sens.
Oh, boy.
Like,
It's
I
not,
know
it's not the
Elliotte.
reaction they were hoping for in January.
Elliotte
to their
Saturday
name.
night said they'd like to make some move with maybe getting some more veteran. Or I'm like, no, isn't that what Claude Giroux was supposed to do? And like, they're going to have to make some tough decisions with some of their core guys.
But they do remind me more of a Vancouver where it's like they should be better than they are. Like, can we do some other things to figure this out other than ship out core guys?
I do like the Vancouver parallel where they just hire Berube next year and they're just really good.
Well, why don't
hire
you just do
Berube,
hey,
trade for a top pair D? That
they,
helps.
they hired Talkett when they weren't going anywhere.
Who's that? Vancouver?
Yes.
Yeah.
So hire Berube now.
Yeah.
I
Don't
see
wait
your point, yeah.
in the off season.
No, you're right. Set
Let him
the-
start putting in new culture now.
Yeah.
Fully on board with that, and give the fans a reason to be excited about
Well,
it.
they should hire him as a coaching consultant.
Right. Have him choose who should be the coach,
Yeah, there you go.
and then he should hire himself.
Ouchie.
All right, boys. Good job today. Our thanks to Elliotte Friedman on the top of the hour.
Thank you,
And of
Louis
course-
Gross, Michael Nylander.
Willie Nylander for joining us today. His new 8-year, $92 million contract officially kicks in next season, but we don't have to talk about it from here on in. All right. Enjoy your night, everybody. What's our signature game you guys said? Vancouver and the
Vancouver
Rangers
Rangers,
tonight.
yeah.
Enjoy it. We're back tomorrow on Real Kyper and Bourne.